Yes, people, welcome back to Let's Talk Premier League. And tonight's show is a little bit different to what is normally on this channel. Obviously, has been a lot of it going on this year. Obviously, I'm really making a stand against basically everything that's going on. And this conversation needs to be had. Normally on this channel, we love the banter. We like to roast each other. That's not going to be appropriate for tonight's stream. So I'd appreciate it if you could all leave that at the door. And yeah, how are we all doing, guys?
Doing all right?
Decent.
Yeah, doing all right.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the best, well, the place that we probably should start is Thierry Henry. Obviously, he's deleted social media because of the lack of sort of control on the platforms. If we think about the amount of players that have been racially abused on social media, it's horrible. It's horrific. I mean, it happens every day. There is something that happens every day. We hear of a footballer every day receiving abuse, and it's got to stop. But RJ, we'll start with you. What's your thoughts on what Henry's done, and do you think that this will make the social media owners stand up, or do you think that we need more people to be doing this?
Yeah, obviously, Thierry Henry, he's, there's a lot you can say about him, to be fair. Obviously, I'm Irish, there's a lot of incidents there was in the past between Ireland and him. Obviously, he handballed in the past, but at the same time, racism or any form of abuse should not be allowed regardless. So I do think, I think what happened is absolutely disgraceful, if I'm really honest. I mean, he's not the only person that's doing this. I mean, yes, do I think that he should be the only one? No, I think everyone should be doing this. They should send a message saying, look, if you're not going to do what you need to do, which is cancel all this shite where, you're allowing racism to be on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, everything like that, they should just cancel it completely. And look, he's not the only one. Obviously, Chrissy Teigen, she left it. Obviously, she is the wife of John Legend, very, very funny woman, and she's now gone because she even said it was not even funny to be on Twitter anymore. It's all about canceling. It's all about just trying to be like getting those extra followers. You know what I mean? So I do think this is a start. I do think it is very important that someone like Thierry Henry, who's a big following, especially in a lot of fans behind him, starts this kind of little movement where we just we tell these the owners of all the social media companies saying, look, get this off or else we're done with this. So
I agree. Prime, what's your thoughts? Obviously, Henry's making this stand. Do you think that it will be enough just him doing it, or do you think that more people are going to need to sort of do this to see real action?
I don't think it should have got to us. We've seen it happen for the past few months, well, for years really. Lately, I can name Wan-Bissaka's got abuse. Martial, Fred, I think a week ago before the international break. Reece James got abused to a point where he had to shut down and delete his Instagram. The platforms and the apps themselves, yes, they should seriously have a crackdown and be like, for example, you know how like a week or two ago there's this thing on Twitter where if you use the word Memphis in a tweet, you got suspended for a few days.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a glitch, but if that can be a thing where you can find keywords to suspend someone if they're using them, why can't you do that if someone's being abusive or using racial or sexist abuse? That baffles me. But anyway, even forgetting outside of the social media taking the responsibility for it, I think in the world of football, it's quite easy to stamp out racism, but they just don't care. it's unfortunate what happened with Henry because I'm a Chelsea fan, and rivalry aside, this is definitely not good. But this isn't going to be the last time because they they don't care in terms of UEFA or FIFA or whoever the big powers may be. And I'm not even saying that. I'm not saying that they're racist. No, I don't know them. None of us know them, so I don't think it's fair to actually say that. But they don't have to care because either way, Henri gets his Instagram shut down. Next week, when we go back and play Premier League and league football, people are still gonna pay to watch. If this wasn't COVID times, people would still be going to stadiums. People would be going to watch Chelsea and Arsenal, Man United, like nothing happened anyway. So they're still making their money. So to them, they don't have to care.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with pretty much everything you've said there. Sulz, obviously, what's your thoughts on this, and do you think this will be enough to make change, or do we need more?
Yeah, it's always this topic is so difficult to talk about because there's so many moving elements to it. It's not just one thing we're talking about. We're not talking about just race. We're not just talking about bigots that are on the platform. It's a voice for anyone to come on. You don't know who's going to come on. You can have the next like pedophile rapist, coming onto the platform for their own little, to get their thing off. Kids even. You could be getting, and they don't even have to say anything, and that's the harm they could be doing. Then you've got your racist side who are vocally racist, who come out and they actually fully say what they need to say. My problem is, with what Henri's done, it's a good step for those kind of people to take. But the problem that you have is for the ordinary person like me and yourself, we need to now. I'm a content creator. I have to know who I'm working with. If I have a sniff right of someone that's working with or is racist, I have no right to go on a platform and talk about anti-racism. I can't talk about it. I can't talk against it because I'm not holding people accountable. What Henri did for famous people is going to be good for the platform to take notice of. But the problem is, if we did that, it's not enough. Because if you think about it, I think it's something around 65 to 70% of the platform are anonymous. They're never gonna take that away. That's their money. That's their revenue stream. So that's where the problem is with the ordinary person. Now, obviously, if more footballers and more celebrities, like you said, Chrissy Teigen, coming off the platform now, Thierry Henry coming off the platform, the problem is how long is that impact going to have? Because the minute football comes back on, like Prime said, it's going to be forgotten. Look at Black Lives Matter movement. It happened when it happened. When the trend was there, everyone jumped on. But the minute that started to die down, people are like, yeah, it's not really getting talked about. Fuck it, let's not talk about it. It's about understanding, right, the situation for what it is and educating yourself, not in a matter of what is racism, but it's about understanding why the situation is so bad. Millions and millions and millions of people per year die through hatred and crimes of hate, not even to their own people. Black on black violence, Asian on Asian violence, white on white violence. It's not just that. People who are gay get killed. People who are of difference of opinions die. The problem is, right, is educating yourself in the right way. Too many people talk about a matter they have no idea about. They come on platforms and the problem with this Henri thing, I don't think it's gonna work, personally. Because think about it, Henri's off the platform. What's happened? Nothing. Nothing's changed. The platform is still the same. I've not heard anyone really talk about it. Yeah, I've heard a few tweets here and there saying, Henri's left the platform, things need to change. Half an hour after that, it's done again. People are talking about the England game. People are talking about whatever national game was on. So it's like it'll have a miniature effect, but until more people don't do it, it's never going to really amount to anything.
Yeah, I'd totally agree with what you've said. Dom, what's your thoughts on the Henri situation and just basically your thoughts on it really?
It's hard to speak about, like Saul said, it's very hard subject to go into, but what Henri's done, it is one of the best steps that needs to be taken more, because he's taking all his platforms down now, and it's what is one of the tweets that he put up before he did it. He was like, it needs to be changed. It needs to be taken a stand on it. But what he's done is really good, and I've seen more celebrities and big names in the industry and other industries take this stand as well. Where, if I use an example, KSI, he doesn't go on Twitter anymore. None of his social medias are by him anymore. It's his management, because he said there's no point controlling my own Twitter if I'm going to get racially abused on it. And it's like we've talked about in football multiple times as well. You can criticise your football players, you can criticise all of them, but never take racial abuse to them. There's really no need to racially abuse them. Criticise them on the performance. Just don't. It's just fucking stupid. These people, I've just read some of the comments then, and it is true, they're uneducated. They really are uneducated, and it's annoying that we have to speak about it in this day and age, where you thought the Black Lives Matter thing, there was a big stand to that, everyone was following that. Then once it died off, like Sulz said, it's like, right, we don't really need to talk about it anymore, but we do. This is why we keep taking the knee week in, week out. It's to make this stand against racism, and it's appalling to still be talking about it in 2021. It's just annoying.
Yeah, I mean,
and just to add to that, think about it, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic. That should be the thing we're talking about, how we're going to get out of it. But what we're talking about, discrimination against people and racism, is the biggest talking point. When we're in a pandemic, a thing that might be talked about in history, yet there's people still out there hating. Mental health is at an all-time high, but what is first people's thoughts? How can I make it worse for them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, we use social media. I mean, I use social media to obviously use this platform and to give my opinions and work with people. But echoing what Saul said, you have to be careful with who you work with, because at the end of the day, you can't be preaching this and then 2 minutes later going on to her channel. I've had that recently where I've stepped away from a channel because I've had a conversation, and that's the important. Everyone's entitled to make a mistake, but it's how you handle that mistake that you deal with it. Everyone's made a mistake in their life. Nobody is perfect, but the way I see it is, you can make a mistake, but you have to deal with it in the right way, and you have to learn from it. Because if you don't learn from it, what are we doing? Like that's partly just that's me as a person. Where if I make a mistake, I want to rectify it and learn from it, because life is about learning. But how someone and what annoys me about it, I mean, we're hating on things that people can't control. That's the base of it. Like, you cannot control what color you were born. You cannot control what gender you are. You cannot control what sexuality you are. These are all uncontrollable things that you are born with, yet we hate on them. The stuff that is completely out of someone's control. I think it's just, and there's a comment from Kenny saying, it's so awful that uneducated idiots still do it. And it is uneducated. Mm-hmm. And I partly have to put a blame on the education of in our schools. Do you know
on that now, right? The education factor, right? I don't know. Maybe in my community it's a bit different to maybe other people, but I'd love to get people's kind of thoughts on it. Do you know, when I was younger, Black History Month was actually a month long. Like, we'd actually every maybe other day would have a full on topic about like a figurehead who's actually spared change. But then as like the years went on, even speaking to like my brother about it and stuff like that, he's younger than, even he said like it's turned from a month to maybe a week. He'll get a week out of it, or maybe just a day, and then after that they'll just kind of get on with their lives, kind of thing. Do you not think that obviously now the importance of it is being taken away? I don't know what other people's experiences in school or education have been in regards to just something small as like Black History Month being not used properly.
What we learned about was like when the Black Lives Matter thing happened with George Floyd. It was like a 30-minute presentation. That was it. 30-minute presentation. We have a look at a PowerPoint. That was it. Nothing else spoke about it. Where I go, racism is taken very highly, but it still goes on.
Yeah.
I grew up in an area that's heavily white, and we've still got black people who get racially abused day in day out where I'm from, and it's really annoying to see. Like, he's literally just going to the shops, he's going to do his shopping for his family. Oh, he gets racially abused, brilliant. What's the fucking need? He's not said anything to you. He's not caused anything towards you, and you're coming to racially abuse him. It's fucking stupid, man.
I mean, talking about Black History Month, and I can't believe I'm about to utter these words. We didn't have it in our school. That wasn't even a thing, and that's where we got to. Like, some schools, it's not enforced, and it needs to be enforced, and especially in this day and age, it absolutely needs to be. But RJ and Prime, anything to add on the sort of education side?
Prime, you can go first.
I don't. Education, but it needs to be the right education. I think because like me growing up and stuff. I grew up in Ireland, so things like Black History Month, that wasn't really a thing. Like, obviously I know it existed and stuff because like I watch American TV, so I know it's a thing in America, and I more or less knew it's a thing in England, but that wasn't really a thing that was in Ireland, or at least for me in school anyway. I can't speak for like everyone, but one really thing that was taught, and I think for me it's not just about saying just teachers about Black history or about African history or Caribbean or Asian history or whatever. Teach about everything that's actually happened in the world, like history in general. Like I've done my own research and stuff, and I'm sure other people have too. But in terms like in school, they will only teach us one aspect and one view of things, and I don't know. It just seems there's no proper education, and even in terms of teachers, maybe they're not even taught properly in terms of how to actually address the matter. So it's a thing of I can't maybe necessarily even blame them, but I don't know. It's just the basics of it. Because growing up and as a kid, like at least for me, yeah, I'm Black, but I didn't see a difference between me and my friends who were Black and white and Asian. Yes, obviously, their skin color is different. I'm not stupid, but in terms of that, even that I didn't really notice or realize, because it wasn't a thing that mattered. It was only until I don't know, 12, 13, 14. So you start to get into secondary school and stuff, and then you start actually noticing there are differences.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be like how it is taught in schools, or just in terms of in school, like bullying and stuff like that. Like I was picked on a lot in school, and like for me, I didn't. Maybe looking back at it now, maybe I can say it was a racial. There was a bit of a racial connotation to it, but at that time, I didn't view it as it being racial. I just assumed it was just because they didn't like me, so fine, they're just going to bully me. And maybe they were bullying me. Maybe it wasn't the racial thing they were bullying me for, so I don't know. In that anyway, so that's not what I'm trying to say. But it's just, education starts at home. It starts with your environment you're brought up in. It should also be taught or looked at in schools. But it's like, I think it also comes from both sides, because as much as I don't even know what I'm trying to say, because I'm not probably wording this properly, but I think education and being taught and things actually trying to come together should come from both sides and come from everyone. But I don't know. It doesn't always seem to do that, because I've had an experience. I don't know. An experience happened with me a few months ago, and what I learned from that is sometimes there's just no reason as to why, or a reason as to what someone will at least admit anyway, in terms of publicly or whatever, as to why. And if you're someone who's caught in that experience, like you see something happen, you don't really do anything to it. You don't do anything at the time, and you try and, I guess, denounce what has happened or twist things in terms of to kind of try and blame victim, or to blame other people instead of trying to look at yourself. I think that's quite, what's the word, childish and insensitive in the actual topic. Again, I'm rambling. I don't know if anything I'm saying makes sense.
Do you mind if I say something, Prime? When you're talking about you had an incident like where you thought it was bullying due to your racial, even if it wasn't, that still shouldn't be playing through like your head saying that's racial abuse or that's racial confrontation, because it shouldn't have happened either way if it was.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. No, like
I'm
in
not
school,
saying-
I
I'm not
was.
saying-
I didn't. No. In school, I was like, I didn't. At the time, I wasn't actually even thinking that I was racial or anything. I'm just saying in terms of like how I've been looking back at my life the past like few months, the past year, and stuff like that. But at the time, I don't know. Maybe it was racial, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. But it's like a thing of like in school, I've seen people of different. See people being picked on and bullied, and when they try to stick up for themselves, I've seen how that works out in terms of different outcomes. So I've seen some of my friends who are black, or they are, well, Bangladesh, and they will stand up for themselves, like in terms of, say, fighting back, so physically, and they'll be the ones who get in trouble and get the punishment, even though it's self-defense. And I'm against fighting in general anyway, so I think if you fight someone back, you're kind of just as bad. But it's a thing of they will get punished instead of them actually looking at the situation, or teachers or the principal, no matter what you do, no one actually steps in and gets involved. Or it escalates to a point where someone ends up, unfortunately, killing themselves. And
Do you know on that one, Prime, just to kind of bring a personal, there was a Sikh guy in our school. This was like 2-3 years before I actually went to that high school. He was actually with, I should say even earlier than that, like when my uncles used to go, there was some Sikh guy in there, and he actually did commit suicide because they used to take his, apologies, I'm not 100% sure what the exact term is, but the turban on their heads, they used to take that off and basically expose the guy. And about 6 months into him being at high school, he actually did commit suicide over it. And he actually left that all in his notes saying, they used to bully me, calling me a Sikh, stealing my lunch money, etc., etc. And it's tough, it's rough, because like I've seen this firsthand, and I know how brutal it can be, because it's the tones they use, it's the way they do it. It's not just, and it's not. Niall, I was talking to you about this, right? It's become casual. It's like they don't even realize they're doing it. And an example I've always used of this is me being like, I've worked in retail, obviously being a student and stuff, and I've always used a story where there was me and a colleague of mine who's also Asian, and there was another one who was mixed race, and the person who was serving was the only white, obviously, sales at that time in the shop. And this white couple came in at least 2-3 times. We asked, obviously, do you need help with anything, as you do? And they were like, oh, no, we're just looking. And then they walk out, walk back in, walked out, etc. All three of us obviously asked. And then the minute, like, our manager walked out, who's also white, and the couple went over to him. And it's like, at first I thought maybe the family, like families do that, they're waiting for their family member to be free or something. But the manager asked us, goes, how come you guys didn't serve them and I go, because we've asked, but they didn't want to be served. And things like that then start to add up. I'm not saying it's racial, but the amount of times stuff like that happens, I don't know what I need to think, because it's like it's become so casual that I don't even think they realize they're doing it, or that they're actually potentially hurting someone, or that they're actually affecting someone, like, personally.
Yeah.
I don't know whether people have had that sort of experience or anything, but
Yeah, I've had that. It's like people think if being racist would be if someone says to you, "Oh, you're a black this," or whatever.
Yeah.
People think directly saying something like that is racist, and yes, it is. But doing little things like that, whether they be unintentional, and I'm sure they may not consciously mean anything by it, but it is racism. Or like how what you were saying about your friend with how he was picked on because of his the turban, his head.
Yeah.
It's like, and again, that's what is worse with kids, because they don't even know that they're doing it, and I'm sure they don't. I'm sure it's this weird term of kids being kids or whatever. I'm sure they don't actually mean anything by it in that malicious way, or to be even, maybe they are bullying. I'm sure they don't mean anything. It's like, if kids can do it where they're innocent and they don't know any better, then they're going to develop and grow and get to a point where they're doing that in shops, walking in and not wanting to be served by someone who is not white or whatever. And that's how it escalates and just stays within society. It's the little things.
Mm-hmm.
But on that as well, like, obviously, because we talked about the violence element, and obviously we've had that recently, especially with the Rangers and the Slavia Prague situation, obviously with Glenn Kamara. I've had conversations with Lengths pretty much with everyone on the panel, obviously prior of just getting to know you. And I've said it, I think the response that Arsenal fan base had was a disgrace. I think the footballing world had to look at themselves as a disgrace, because why are you going to prove to a man everything they believe you are? They think we're barbaric anyway. They think we're thugs. Why are you then going to send to him and at him saying that I wish one of the Arsenal players comes and double-legged tackles you and breaks your legs and ends your career because your UEFA aren't doing anything about it? I think this is where the issue always comes and stems from as well. And I think people's responses say a lot more than the actual act itself. Now, what he did was completely wrong. I always condone that sort of actions. I don't stand for it one bit. But the way you react to a situation like this, make it worse or make it better. But when you respond in the way they did, the way a lot of the fan base did, you're never going to get results. You've got to, and I've always said to people, this is why I say education needs to go both ways. It's not about educating the racists, it's about educating the people who are trying to fight against it. It's about us educating ourselves to understand how we combat it. Because what I've always said, this is the key thing of forget about racism for a second, right? Even if someone's, attacked you for being gay, if someone's attacked you for being this, that, the other, right? And or for being your skin color, what do they want? They want you to be violent to them. They want you to respond in a certain way. But when you don't give them that, they can't do anything. They can't make a story from it. So when people say, oh yeah, it's brilliant, he'd been violently attacked and I would have punched him as well, you've now given, and I've always said, you've now fueled their agenda further. They then, like Slavia Prague did, they then came out and said, oh, but people were asking for death threats on the guy. Brilliant. You've fucking done exactly what I was telling people from day one. That's what they're going to come out and say. That's what they did. Their statement that came out when you wait for investigating them, at the end they said it. Yeah, but it's not right for you guys to send death threats. And that's what I've said. You have to respond in the right way. You've got to be very articulate in the way you respond. Don't give them what they're looking for. Give them exactly the response they never expected. And that's how you beat it. It's like you don't, let a fire off without, with more fire. You have to, put water on it. That's what you've got to do. You've got to dampen the situation whilst making them be held accountable for what they've done.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a few footballers that was it Rashford and Reece James was like been racially abused today, but I'm not going to expose them because they don't deserve a platform to be shown on. And that was the right response, because they didn't put them on the social media and be like, right, these ones who've been doing it, now you go on, all my people that follow me, go and attack them, which
Yeah.
isn't the right thing to do. So what more people need to do, like, I'm not saying don't expose them, because expose them to the right authorities. Don't stick it on your story for other people to go and attack them. It needs to be done like the correct way, like Sulz said. If it's done in the correct way, that's how you fight it. Don't put fuel on the fire.
Hang on.
RJ, anything to add on that, mate?
I mean, talking about school in general, I am still a student. I am still in Ireland, and for me, you know, we have 1 week where we call Diversity Week, where we just look at other people's cultures, their religions, all that, and we have one Pacific Day where, you know, they get to show it off. And for me, I think that's not enough. Honestly, you know, you can. It is a start. I mean, quite frankly, it's more than what other schools do. But for me, it's not enough. Obviously, you know, when I was younger, I was obviously picked on. I was not the most confident, and I do agree with Prime. Obviously, if the school education system, and for me, it needs to be modified. It needs to be modified so that, so it lets you know that if something happens to you, you can let them know, and nothing will happen to you, because it comes down to a situation where, say someone is picking on you, they say, if you tell anyone, I'm going to break your neck or something like that. That's what it comes down to as well. And for me, one thing I've done, and I think I recommend every single person to do, is learn jiu-jitsu or any sort of self-defense with that. Instead of, say, doing boxing or anything like that where you can hurt the individual, self-defense, pretty much you're defending that person without hurting them. So it technically goes both ways. I'm against bullying completely, and I do believe what I've identified bullying really, especially from for me especially, I feel like it's just the people who really don't have anyone to back them up, and that's why I hate to see, especially because, you know, when I was younger, I just never had anyone to back me up, to help me out. Nowadays, like, I'm part of a friend group and all that, but I think, you know, talking about the other side, you know, where obviously like Prime, when he got bullied, I wouldn't be able to give my personal experience on that, because like I said, I have not seen that firsthand. But yeah, like I told you, it should be modified. It should be said that, look, and the thing is, I see it all the time. I'm a streamer, and I see like kids, you know, who are still in school. They can get away with this, and they don't see any punishment from saying anything that's racial, homophobic, anything like that, and they get away with it. Simple as that. And I think practically, I think it's just down to also people with influence as well. I do understand, you know, you should not take, but at the same time, you should let everybody know that, look, keep educating yourself about every single topic. Because I remember there's one, I can't remember exactly what happened, but schools were telling parents to educate their sons and daughters about the scenarios that are happening around the world, especially when George Floyd got killed and all that. That's what happened. So yeah, for me, I think, especially with my point is pretty much, the school system is not made to tackle scenarios like this. It should be modified, and quite frankly, in a way where, you know, if you do try and fight back or have a bit of self-defense, you should not get any blame, and you should ultimately, walk out unpunished.
I think part of the problem is that people don't want to. You know, people who are in these sort of like you said, RJ, in influencing positions such as your celebrities, your footballers. I'm not saying all of them, but there's.
Yeah.
You know, one of the examples that I'm going to use may trigger a lot of people, but I think it kind of just goes to show how far away from the situation we are. And it's when Sulz came out and actually talked about the Myanmar situation of the Muslims, and no one came out and defended him. What people did was attacked him for decisions he's made in the past, you know, rather than looking at the situation for itself. And what that situation, the reason why I brought that up, it brings more of a divide, because people are going to sit there, especially, let's say, for example, I'm not saying myself, but I don't know, like a brown Muslim, right? Someone that's maybe going to sit there and be like, why the fuck should I support BLM? They didn't support us when we were going through a situation. I'm not saying that that's the case. By the way, loads of, like, we're all for it, you know, but that's what we want to end. But that's what can happen. Some people can sit there and think, wait a minute, they didn't come back us. Why the fuck should we back them? And that's the divide that these media and football clubs are bringing. What we need to do as a society is understand that and understand the fact that this divide is always going to be there, because that's what sells papers, that's what sells news articles, that's why people tune into the news. We've got the biggest article right now in Meghan Markle and the royal family. I won't get too much into it because I actually don't have a fucking donkeys about what's actually gone on, because they don't know what's happened. So it's about understanding that you need to do your own research rather than just taking the media blindly for what they say. And it's about understanding that there is going to be a divide and conquer situation, and understanding that that's something you can't let happen, and educate yourself firstly, because I don't think the right education will ever be given.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll go to some comments before you sort of linked it into the next topic I wanted to sort of get to. Big up to Strong TV, who's bigging up everyone and her favourite prime, which is good. Winter Surfer, there. Really important discussion. So sad in the 21st century we're having to have this conversation. It is. It just needs to. We need to keep having these conversations, because the more you talk about it, the more it gets raised. But you have to make sure you're doing it in the right way, and we'll get into some of them things, especially of taking the knee in Black Lives Matter, and what we can do to sort of amplify the message and make it sort of what it's meant to be. Because I do feel that it has got a bit clouded with the stuff in America of defunding the police and all of that. It's got mixed, and for me there's something I would like to see the Premier League try and do, but we'll get into that in a second, obviously. Just seeing if there's to Black History Month might as well not exist in my school. We do nothing for it. It's stuff like that needs to change, and it's not necessarily about Black History Month. I think when we're in that, I don't know if you guys had like religious education or PSHE. I think stuff like that where we actually are taught. I know it's going to sound wrong that we have to even do this, but we may have to start even teaching our kids not to be racist. Like we may genuinely have to sit in front of a class and go, "You're not to say this. You can't say this." Like that's the level that we're getting to, because I feel that this society, especially of social media, is sort of it's gonna. It's the thing is, people can sort of hide away from it. Uncle Laurie saying, "My stand against it is I won't be watching either tie of it, and I don't care about the outcome as much as Arsenal are my team." It's so sad people bully people, especially whilst we're going through the hardest time of probably all of our lives. Dylan saying it's just disturbing, especially in sport. A white player has a bad performance, they get criticised for their performance. A black player has a poor performance and they get criticised by their colour. It's and not the game. But you sort of led me to the media. Obviously, social media is a big part of this, obviously allowing these people to have this platform. But the media, in my opinion, have to take a lot of responsibility. A prime example is look at Raheem Sterling. The media don't have to be blatantly racist to you. They don't have to say a racist slur. It's what they write about, the way they act. For example, you look at Greenwood. The difference between the prime example. Look at Mason Greenwood and Phil Foden. They both made the exact same mistake, but the media didn't go for Foden. They went for Greenwood and started writing lots of pieces. You obviously have Piers Morgan that has slammed Meghan Markle on multiple occasions. Another example is obviously you had Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle. If Kate cradled her bump, it was that's motherly. Oh, look, that's lovely. If Meghan was to do that, look how she's holding her bump. Look how she's dominated. Like the way, you see what I mean? Like the subtle differences the media chuck out. So my question is, does more need to be done to the media in terms of, I don't know how they would do it, but do we need to have more control, not control over the media, but when they act in a certain way, is that do we need to do something as a punishment to the media sources that are doing this? Because if you think, a lot of people get their news from this media, and if the media being subconsciously racist or discriminatory, then people are subconsciously going to act like that as well, because that's where they're getting their media from. So do you think that a bigger thing needs to happen to the media, like the Sun and the Daily Mail and the newspapers themselves?
For me, yeah, simple as. I feel like, it's one way where people get their information from, through news articles, and whether it's the newspaper. I think, especially like if you watch some videos as well, you can see some videos of some reporters asking some very weird questions, and trying to get some of the good scoop, if they like to put it like that. To be fair, for me, it's like they kind of care about more about the clicks than about the health of the individuals themselves. I mean, and that has to change. I think if we're gonna really talk about change and all that, we have to start with the news outlets, and then once we stop doing that, then maybe there might be a change in what people do, maybe. But for me, yeah, they are a big focal point. I mean, especially when you think about racism or sexism, especially. You look along the lines of Serena Williams. I mean, she was heavily criticized by the media for all her actions that she's done, and it just needs to be cut out.
Yeah. Prime, any thoughts on what we need to do to the media themselves? So like the newspapers, the TV channels, and what do you think we need to do?
I think we'll keep calling them out. It's funny because in terms of the Sun, everyone seems to boycott the Sun, and I didn't grow up in London or in England, so I'm not really familiar as to this specific reason as to why. But I know that they're scum and no one messes with them and everything. But in terms of us as content creators and what we do, I think the best thing we can do is we call out the media when they spew, and apologies for swearing, but when they spew bullshit out there about players, and when it's clear they're making a racial attack, and for us to just be as fair and as unbiased as we can possibly be. And it's all, I guess, it's all we really can do, because the media is always going to be there, and they're always going to do what they want to do, and it's nothing. I think the only thing we can do is the fact of what we do as YouTubers, as content creators. It's clear now that we are the form of, in terms of news and entertainment. Well, because me personally, I don't know about anyone else, but I don't watch Sky Sports or Gillette Soccer Saturday. Well, in terms of watching my actual football, yes, but in terms of before games or match analysis or after games or anything, I don't watch that. I'd rather play a watch along in the background from one of my friends' YouTube channels while I'm watching the game, or after the game's done. Everyone knows I'm on the terrace, but after the game's done, if it's an Arsenal game, I'll watch AFTV or EGTV, or if it's a United game, I'll watch any of the numerous United channels, or Chelsea, I'll watch any of the numerous Chelsea channels. That is, in terms of actual content and unbiasedness, that is, to me, more entertaining and more worthwhile than having to sit through anything the media spew out. And that's not me attacking them per se, because I do. There are good pundits out there in terms of in the football space that I actually like and rate. In terms of Henry is one. In terms of Gary Neville, Carragher, I like Jamie Redknapp. I like Ian Wright. Those are 4 I can mention. Oh, Alex Scott, 4 or 5 that I can mention in terms of people that I actually. She really is, and she's someone who also doesn't get enough credit for what she does, because I think she's one of the best out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, we'll obviously get into the other forms of discrimination like sexism and homophobia in a bit, but I think some of the best pundits I've seen on Sky are the women. They seem to have a better understanding of the game, and what I do like is the amount of effort that's been going into streaming the women's league and all of that, because at the end of the day, I still can't believe that in 2021 we didn't really have any. I know it can't be fully equal, but we needed to make more effort. I mean, there was one until a couple of years ago, there was one game, and that was the FA Cup final. Right, that was the only game that was broadcast on live television, and you're seeing a lot of women's teams sort of popping up. I mean, Argyle have got one. Which they're just like the men's team. They're not very good, but they're there and doing a good job.
God damn no.
But they're both teams are. Look, at least they're following the men properly and not outshining them by being amazing. But no, I think that for me is really good. But Sulz, what's your thoughts on the media? Like, do you think that the people just are more sort of not boycotting them, but they're just not as interested as they once were, and they are coming onto YouTube to sort of get their news?
Yeah, no, obviously, now me and you have spoken all day, pretty much, obviously, me being a bit pissed off of what's happened recently on the whole platform, and obviously with the news and everything. I was speaking to someone else, obviously, I don't know whether I can say his name, I don't know whether he wants to be mentioned, but I was speaking to him, and he actually brought up a really, really good point, which, in the anger of things, I kind of forgotten about, and that was what Flex did. You know, when he called out that Sun reporter for what he said, and I think that's how you handle it. If anyone wants, and I'm telling this, whoever watches this on replay, anyone in the comments, right, if you want to know how to handle something that's so discriminatory and with racial connotations, go watch that video. Honest to God, I cannot recommend it enough, because that's the perfect example of how you do it. You sit the person down, you hold them accountable, but you don't rip into them. And the way Flex did it was exactly how I want people handling it. And that's made my outlook of a lot of things change. Because the media are the media. They're always like, RJ and Prime said, they're always going to clicks first.
Mm-hmm.
We do it. We're content creators. We understand that. YouTube is about how you're going to get people onto your platform, how you're going to get them to click, because that's what they get paid on, especially in the social media world. They get paid per click. So the more people clicking, the more money they're going to make, basically. And unfortunately, right, as sad as it sounds, and as sad as what I'm about to say is, hate sells. Because I want to know why they hate me. The haters want to justify why they can hate me. And best of both worlds, isn't it? Like, I'm going to click on that just to see, all right, what are they spouting now? Which is a bit wrong of me. Maybe I need to boycott them, maybe. But like, people who are like, I don't know, people who are racist are going to want to see, okay, what's the media said? Oh, yeah, let's get into this, because now I've got more to back myself up with. And then I'm going to be on there just to make sure that I'm aware of what the hell's going on. What could be the next thing? Am I in danger? Is my life in danger? Because there's a full-on, racial warfare against people like myself. And it's sad. It sounds sad, but it's the truth. Especially when you've gone through it. In your lifetime, whether you've ever been like racially abused or racially attacked, or someone's hurled racial abuse at you, you're always going to be looking over your shoulder after that, because it's one of the most horrifying experiences you'll ever go through. But that's why, I like doing what I'm doing. On my platform, you'll see I'll always talk about it. I've tweeted about it. I don't care what people think. That's the last thing on my mind, because there's so many voiceless people out there who don't understand any of this. They don't know how to speak about it. And then when you've got people like myself staying silent who have got a platform to talk on, it makes things worse. And then when you talk about the media, right, they're threatened by us because we're the new age.
Mm-hmm.
We are literally here. The Irish phrase, right, which we always use, but it's the truth. We're here to take over. and they're threatened by it. So they need to do whatever the hell they can to get clicks, to get clickbaits, and to still get people to maybe watch. And you know how you do that? You appeal to the masses. Unfortunately, those masses at the moment are people who hate, whether that's from the right or the left, whether that's from extreme, religious groups with like terrorist organizations, all the way down to people from, racial organizations. They're all the same. They're all together on this, and that's what sells, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And until that mindset doesn't change, it's never going to change. You're always going to get this media outlook. It's about people changing what they want to see. Like Prime said, people are now coming to YouTube for their content. I do that. I don't really watch the news anymore. I kind of go, like, let's say, for example, like RJ is now doing the Premier League like news. Yeah. I'll go on there because I don't really want to watch Sky Sports or BBC News or whatever, because they're boring as hell. They're fucking like 70-year-old middle-aged men who've got personalities of plank woods.
And it's not even about not wanting to watch it. It's like I don't think about it. Like on the terrace and stuff, we cover like news. Like we're one of the first to cover news in terms of breaking transfers and cover games and stuff like that. And then outside of that, any of the channels that I'm subscribed to, so whether it be here or it's say EGTV or AFTV or United Stand or any of the numerous football channels out there, that is what I'm going to watch. Whether it's just to watch them rant and rave because their team just lost, or it's to watch them, like, I don't know, dissect the victory or something, or just like, that's my first thought to go. I don't really think of it. Like, the only time I really will see things come out from like Sky Sports or something, whether like it's from like a clip or whatever it may be, it's when it's on my Twitter timeline, if it's trending. Other than that, I don't have the need to go on there. And the thing is, whether they like us or not, in terms of this being this new age, or just in terms of the fact that we're different people, we're like we're not white or whatever it may be, they do need us. Like Anita's been there quite a few times. Kendall's been there. Flex, like expressions. Whether they want to admit it or not, whether they like us or not, they do need us. And maybe that's something. Maybe that's a way to, whether it's the best way or not, maybe that's a way to enact some sort of change. Yeah. I don't know, but it's something, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. Obviously, on here we do match reactions of the top four and all of that. And when United lose to, for example, Leicester, I get to see RJ and Dom sort of crying and moaning about all of that.
Well, you see, especially me, not Dom, but.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, obviously, and that's the thing. You sort of like you build friendships in social media and on here. So I sort of class you lot as my friends, and when United lose, I get to see a couple of my friends sort of tear into their club, and it makes me feel better because my team's in League One. So there's always that thing, and Sulz obviously the one who's done it the most. He supports Arsenal right now, so I mean, it's a big peak, but that's the sort of things. That's the sort of things we do, though, isn't it? We do move away from. I mean, I watch the match, and then I go downstairs, grab me alcohol, come up here, and we've started streaming, and we're sort of dissecting the game ourselves. And I very rarely, I think half time, I might listen to Roy Keane or someone like that, but very rarely do I watch it after the game, because normally we're sort of streaming. Yeah. But Dom, what's your thoughts on the whole media thing? And I mean, do you think everyone's just coming over to YouTube, or do you think that, just what's your thoughts?
I just think the media is so clever with how they write the articles. Yeah. It's so clever how they do it, because it's like we've said on here, it's the clicks. They're only bothered about the clicks. They don't care who they are hurting the feelings of or who they're writing about. It's like what we've seen with Raheem Sterling when he had a gun tattooed on his leg. If that wasn't in the media, I wouldn't give a shit if he had the gun tattooed on his leg. but the media have to come out and say that it's a wrong thing for him to do. Then Piers Morgan on bloody daytime TV slags Raheem Sterling off from a gun on his leg before he goes to Russia 2018. Like, it doesn't matter. But then there's also another time, like you said, Niall, Phil Foden, Mason Greenwood. Foden's in the one media I seen of Phil Foden and Greenwood, and that was when they was together. Weeks after that, it's all Greenwood. Nothing about Foden. Is that because he's black? Is that because they want clicks? Of course it is. Because it's annoying people. But people aren't smart enough to think about it in that way. People want to click on the article and then write the comments in it. Yeah. It's just annoying to see, because we talk about racism and everything, but there also needs to be equality between the players, like the Mason Greenwood, Phil Foden one. If one of them gets slagged off, both of them surely should get slagged off or written about, because they've done the same exact thing. But it's like what everyone said, Prime, RJ and Sulz and you now, everyone's moving away from the TV side of it, where they talk the same bollocks every single day and no one's to hear it. So everyone moves over to YouTube and the channels and the team channels, because they actually speak the truth. They speak about what's going on at their club. They don't talk anything else. And
it's real fans, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's real fans.
It's pure passion.
Exactly.
Pure passion.
So I don't watch the news because it's fucking boring and it's fucking old same shit I can just go and watch on a fan TV channel. It's like Prime said, there's so many teams that have these fan channels. I'd go and rather watch them than go and watch Sky Sports fucking news. But yeah, I think everyone needs to move away from the Sky Sports and go to a fan channel and watch that, because it's so much better.
Yeah. Do you know on that the one of the problems, right, which doesn't get raised enough, is player unity. Like, for example, when whatever happened to Greenwood, Foden should have personally come out and said, look, we both did the same thing. I think that has a bigger impact than anything, because there's not enough unity, in my opinion. Like, for example, Marcus Rashford obviously recently doing the campaign to basically tell the government, you're fucking assholes that aren't feeding kids. And then, did you see how the news manipulated that? Because he bought his mum a house.
Oh yeah,
he's a multi-millionaire. Do you think he can't afford a house?
Then
1 week's wage gets him a house.
The headline was Marcus Rashford buys 5 houses worth like over 2 million. He wrote a comment on. He went, "It's my money. I'm providing for my family at the end of the day."
And do you know what? How many times have we not criticised? How many times have we heard a player lost all their money, they got no money, and they've turned to drugs and Marcus Rashford has done what every single smart person would do. It's what we've all been saying.
No, but you know what though? On that as well, did you see how Raheem Sterling's reaction to when who else was in? That was another City player. Yeah, Phil Foden bought his parents' house, and Sterling bought his mum a house or something. Or he bought his girlfriend like 3 houses to kind of help her start her real estate business, or like her condo bit. And did you see how the reaction of both of them were different as well? Sterling done this, a thug life and all that.
But Phil Foden buys a beautiful home in Cheshire or something like that.
For his mum,
Yeah.
Like, do you know what the problem with that is? It's like, I think players also need to do more when things like that happen. And I think that, because the issue is me, you, RJ, Prime, Dom talking about it, it's all good and well because it's going to get the ordinary person comfortable talking about it, which is a good thing. I'm not saying what we're doing isn't good, but the problem is when the people in those positions aren't united against a certain message, it's never really going to have true change, especially not on a media level anyway.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Mojo saying 4 dislikes. I mean, I don't care if there's dislikes, but that is precisely the reason why we are doing this. Because if you're disliking us talking about this, then I do suggest you probably avoid most of our channels, because this gets brought up a fair few times. And I don't know about you, but I don't think disliking something anti-racist is the way to be going. Just to be brutal. I mean, it doesn't affect me that you're disliking this. I mean, if that makes you big and strong, pressing your thumb on that.
I mean, if you're disliking it, tell us what you don't agree with. I mean, that's more productive than just disliking or fucking off.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I agree. Because I don't like talking about this sort of stuff either. So maybe you should be going for the people who are actually being racist and discriminatory. Because I don't want to be talking about this. I'm sure the rest of the panel, do you guys want to talk about this every single day?
No.
Niall knows. I don't know. I tell you, mate. Niall knows exactly how I feel. But I feel like it has to be done, though.
Yeah.
Like,
me and Sulz have done this on his channel. I mean, this sort of time slot is normally a banter show, but I felt this being more appropriate this week than a banter show. So maybe they're unhappy that their schedule hasn't been met to. But unfortunately, I run the channel, and we'll talk about what we want to talk about, and you can, I don't know, go find someone else doing banter if you want that.
Exactly.
But maybe they're just uncomfortable about it. I don't know. But I want to briefly talk about Black Lives Matter before I move on to the other forms, because there's plenty of forms of discrimination going on in this world. But I want to talk.
Oh, can I just before that? Can I just there's a person in the comments who I want to big up because he's been there for me from the very beginning. Always there, you know. He's basically a brother to me, and anyway, it's like family to me now. And big up Albert, man. Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, I would be putting more comments up, but if a massive amount of you are watching and contributing, it's great to see. And if I was to put every comment up and we were to discuss it, we'd be here for about the next 4 weeks. And I don't think anyone wants to pull a 4-week all-nighter. It would be a bit difficult on all of us.
I couldn't last 6 hours last night, lads.
I mean,
same here.
We're all in lockdown anyway, so
it's all Easter for everybody.
I'll bring the kettle and fridge up here, and I'll just make sure I can make my coffees up here. I'll get my dad to do my shopping for me. It's all good. But no, I do want to talk about taking the knee and that impact. Obviously, we know Zaha feels a particular way to it, and I feel that taking the knee and the Black Lives message has been clouded, mainly with what's happening in America and the whole defund the police and all of that. Now, my suggestion, Phil, I'm not an expert at this, but my suggestion is obviously the players can't shake hands at the moment because of COVID. So what I was thinking is, instead of taking the knee, you know, when they're lining up and all of that, what I would feel be more appropriate is no room for racism, or kick it out, or something along them lines as a banner that they all hold on to. I feel that message is firstly clearer, and it's not mixed up with all the politics of all the different countries. And RJ, I'll start with you. Do you think that would be a clearer message sent out, or do you think that taking the knee is the right way to be doing it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think taking the knee was important. I think it does keep telling people, like, this is what we stand for, no matter what, you know, what you believe in or not. Obviously, Zaha, you know, he stood out from that, and for, you know, that's up to him if you really want to do that. Obviously, I do agree with you that it has been clouded out, and I do think what you're saying, that, like, if they had like a banner saying no room for racism, I think that's a good idea. Recently, obviously, you watched the international games. Germany and the Netherlands had messages for both, like, I think it's for rights, human rights
in Qatar.
Yeah, and that just shows you that some players do care. Especially, obviously, we can talk about, say, Millwall saying what they did earlier on in the year, where they argued about the taking the knee, and you know, we can go through that all we want, but the fact of the matter is that, look, it's just a message that we just need to keep going. We need to keep bringing out this message that, you know, we can't let it die, because if you let it die, what's the point of all this happening? You know, yeah. For me, I think it is important, and yeah, I think, yeah, even if you had a banner, or even like maybe more arm, I don't know, whatever they have to do to keep promoting the message, because, you know, like I said, it is getting watered down probably by America because of what they're doing with the police.
Yeah, or maybe something on their t-shirts, maybe a logo or something. I know they've got one on the sleeve, but that's
especially
fine, and no one
last
can really
season,
see the sleeve tackle.
I mean, last season they had like Black Lives Matter on instead of their surnames of the players, so maybe that might work, maybe might not. I don't know.
There's plenty of ideas, but Prime, what's your thoughts? Do you think that taking the knee is the way that we should be doing it, or do you think that has been clouded, and doing it with a banner or a clear message where people can see it? Do you think that might be more impactful?
I'm not in agreement with just taking the knee for the sake of doing so. In terms of why it's done in America, Colin Kaepernick in the American culture, I understand that, and that's fine. And I don't watch American football, so that's nothing I can really speak about. But in terms of in the UK or in terms of Premier League football or European football, I don't understand why it's done. For me, it just looks like it's a bit of a publicity stunt. Like the whole, whenever there's a racial incident, the whole "say no to racism" adverts start playing, or you wear everyone starts wearing, and the captains wear an armband that says "say no to racism," or you have it sewn in your shirt or part of your laces or something. Just these, not even sympathetic. What's the word? Like it's like these little things to show that they're showing support, but it's the same thing done over and over without taking actual action. Like in terms of society, can you ever stamp out racism or discrimination or prejudice? No, because I'm an advocate of freedom of speech, and unfortunately, that means people are going to think that way and act that way, and you can't necessarily ban everyone. So that's a different discussion. But in terms of football, in the world of sport, it's very easy to take it out of. I know this is a very kind of basic example, but in rugby, I don't watch rugby, but I know that it's a rule, or at least it's a common acceptance that no player is allowed to abuse or crowd or pressure the referee. You treat the referee with the utmost respect. Yeah, I'm right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
The referee is pretty much most respected player on that pitch compared to.
If we're about to talk about football referees, I'm the exception because no one would dare do that to me because they used to get my yellow card and it used to get a bit busy.
Exactly. So for me, it's a thing of if you can do stuff like that, why can't you go and take an actual step? In terms of what happened with Slavia Prague, kick them out of the competition and ban them. When racial incidents happen, have actual severe consequences. Like the John Terry thing that happened, he should have been banned from football completely. Whether it was by Chelsea or the FA, someone should have dealt with it and banned him. And I know he's a Chelsea legend, and as a player, he's one of the best. But in terms of what he did, he should not have been allowed to continue to play. The Suarez incident with Evra, and I'm just naming two high-profile examples. Suarez should have been banned from playing completely.
Yeah,
because just giving someone a 5-match ban or giving them a fine, that doesn't do anything at the end of the day.
Think about it. Ferdinand got what? Was it an 8-month ban for missing a drugs test? Suarez got like a few games off, or I don't know how big the
Do you know what's crazy, right, about that, right? So Suarez, I mean, I'm not advocating biting people, but mine got like a 6-month ban for biting someone. But for racism, it's like, just take a couple of weeks off, mate. Go on a holiday, go on a spa day, go chill out.
The Liverpool players actually then defended him and wore his face on T-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we won't talk about, firstly, how disgusting that is, but secondly, whose idea was that? Because that sends a great message to everyone.
Yeah.
But Sulz, what's your thoughts on the taking a knee? Are you sort of in agreement with Zaha that moving forward he's not going to take it, or are you advocating for taking it, or do you think that what I suggested, like the banner, a clear message that people can see?
Do you know, Niall, I've been rattling my head about this a lot because I always like to take a step back and understand why people have an issue with maybe the Black Lives Matter movement and why they originally, because obviously only recently have they now started to make this sort of thing of defunding the police and kind of eradicating the police force within America. I kind of just wanted to understand, because the issue of Black Lives Matter was there before any of this actually took place, and obviously even with taking of the knees. Now, I've always dug deeper and I've wanted to understand what is taking the knee. You know, I get obviously in this situation it is because of what happened to George Floyd, but taking the knee actually has a lot more messages throughout history than people let on to be believed. It's always about bowing to an authority. It's always about an agreement, because let's take something that people will definitely understand. It's like when you get knighted. What do you have to do? You have to take the knee to the queen, and basically accept authority in that situation. That she's the queen. She's going to knight me. That's what it has always been throughout history. And if you're taking the knee, it has a behind-the-scenes message of you're accepting whatever we tell you. So that's one of the reasons why I've never really accepted taking the knee as a form of being proud of who you are. What Zahar came out and said basically is, I want to stand proud for who I am, and that's what I'm going to do. And I agree with that. And also on the message of Black Lives Matter, the problem I've always had, I never thought that Black Lives Matter would be a movement that would get accepted by a lot, because, and let me explain before people get onto me about why. It's the fact the word black is used and then lives matter. They're looking at that. They're looking at the fact that the word black and then lives matter follows it. And this is the problem. I always thought, yeah, this is never going to work. It might work for a bit because a lot more people will get on behind it. But in the long term, the racists are always, like they have done from the very beginning, why is it black? Like, that's not the point. But the problem is that's where uneducated people, you have to make the message like no room for racism, kick it out, because that's got more of a thing they maybe could get behind, or maybe a percentage of those people might be thinking, actually, there's not really anything we can't get behind there. They're not saying for black people, they're not saying it for white people, they're not saying it for this. So there's nothing they can say. For example, no room for racism. They're literally, that message right there, for me anyway, is as blunt as day, we don't accept you being called out or being abused for your race. Whether that's white, black, Asian, yellow, green, blue, whatever the fuck it may be. But the problem with the Black Lives Matter is the word black. That's literally the problem they'll all have with it. And that's why I think what everyone on the panel is saying is a universal message that no one can have a problem with, and holding them kind of back. It's like, look at the Qatar situation. You know, it's what have they said? We want human rights. They've never really said, we're against Qatar, we're against the people of Qatar. No, they've just simply said to the world, we want equal rights for humans. And that's the message that, De Jong has had, and the Netherlands and Germany, etc., and whoever else has done it. That's what people will get behind. And I think people who are then racist to that message or against it are true and out racist people.
Yeah, that's a way of looking at it. I totally see where you're coming from. Dom, what about you? Is taking the knee having its desired effect, or do you think that we need to make the message just clearer and a bit like Sulz says, sort of, I want to phrase it right, not dumb it down, but sort of like make it clear that no one can have.
No, Niall, you're right. Dumb it down, because that's what you need to do sometimes. Yeah. They are stupid. Literally, they are the fucking stupidest people on the planet.
And that's why society's not going to go. That's why it's not going to be sorted like in one day. I mean, it will take a long time, because society right now is very slow when it comes to understanding like what's right and what's wrong. The morals are out completely. So that's what. Yeah, I do agree exactly what Sulz is saying.
Yeah. So Dom, what's your thoughts, mate?
Sulz took the words out of my mouth basically, but I'm going to bring up the Saha situation where he says, it's like he said. I've seen clips of it where he says it's downgrading to him, where he has to wear a Black Lives Matter logo on his shirt. He has to wear it on his back. He has to do the knee because this problem is going on. He's like, it's downgrading because he shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to do it. We shouldn't be in this situation where players have to take the knee to stop racism. It's going to take a very long time to get through this. It'll happen for the longevity of the fucking Earth goes on and stuff like that. But what Sulz said is what I completely agree with, because he's took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie makes an interesting comment here. Taking the knee has become more of a pre-match ritual.
Yeah, it has.
They're spreading the message, and
do you know what? Actually, now on that, because people are like, here we go, we're taking the knee. I've heard this happen. I'm not because even when you watch some watching on, they're taking the knee now, and I'm not saying people are mocking it, but it's more of a, like it's just kind of being passed off, like, they're taking the knee again.
But because it is a mockery. And that has right in terms of like, why take the knee, and why wear shirts that say no to racism for a company or organization that doesn't even care in the first place?
Yeah.
And I'm surprised it. I mean, and to be fair, Zaha's probably been thinking about this for a long time. Probably now he's only acting on it. But I'm surprised he's the first footballer to do it.
Yeah.
To be fair,
No,
Brentford
and-
came out and I can't remember who the player was, but there was a mixed race player I know at Brentford who actually came out and said we're no longer taking the knee, and he was like the driving force of Brentford no longer taking the knee. But I'll find out the name.
But that wasn't reported. And it should have been, but it wasn't. And because
Yeah.
it's Saha, who's a Premier League player, it's report. If this was any of the top 6 clubs, so if this was Rashford, for example, or Callum Hudson-Odoi, or this is Saka, Arsenal, this would be talking about. If this was Mbappe, who's probably the best player in the world right now, this would be huge world news. But even still, I still don't think the powers that be would actually do anything really about it. They're probably going to try working with that, and then they'll stupid promotional video in terms of, or they might have already done it actually, in terms of say no to racism or some ball like that. But again, they don't really care. They're not really going to do anything, and we're going to be here in another week or two, talking about another racial incident.
Yeah,
and then we're going to be here saying what can we do, or how do we stop this, and how bad this is, and that's all we're going to be doing, because they won't do anything to stop it, and all we can do is just call things out when it happens, and it's a constant cycle.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that, and the thing is, if this was a Plymouth player, this wouldn't even get spoken about. To be brutally honest, if this was a Plymouth player in League One, wouldn't even get spoken about, mate. Like, it may get spoken about in the Plymouth Herald, it gets spoken about within our sort of Twitter community. You lot would hear about it because I'll be saying it, but this wouldn't get widespread news. This wouldn't go on to Sky Sports, and that's the issue. We're not
especially. Sorry.
Yeah, no, carry on. I was just about to say
I was saying, like, it's about like grassroots level. You would never hear really anything happening at grassroots, even though that's where it's kind of where the footballers start. You know what I mean? They start from the bottom, they work their way up. I'd say that's probably less likely to hear it there. You'd probably hear it more on social media if it was really from, say, the lower ranks or even like the grassroots. So yeah, it is a problem. Like, and they do need to sort out. But like I said, it will take time. But we need to try and quicken it, because the fact is it's a joke at the moment. But like the fact that we're still in 2021, we're still talking about the same scenarios that we've been talking about for the last year. Nothing's really changed. It's something needs to change for good.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, we will move on to obviously other forms of discrimination and all of that. The next topic we'll touch on is obviously homophobia. Obviously, we still don't have a openly gay person in the Premier League. Obviously, as a gay man myself, I have had periods where I was a referee and I was abused for it because people found out or however they found out, and you used to get the normal slurs. And I fear for the first person that does it. That is a genuine fear I have for them, because we all know that the first chant that will be said in the stands is he's gay, he's queer. They'll say his name and all of that. They'll mock it. It'll be something to bat someone down with. Because I already know it's not that I know them personally, but I mean, one in every 5 people are gay or lesbian or bisexual or transgender, and that if we think about it logically, or it might be 1 every 20. I'm not completely sure on the figure, but it's definitely a 1 in something, sort of smaller than 25. I know that much. We have a 25-man team in every Premier League team. Now, if obviously I know it's not all going to be the same, but if we were just to do the law of averages, that's about 20. Now, I know there won't be 20, but there will be people there that are gay but don't feel comfortable because they know what's about to happen. I mean, I genuinely fear for the first person that gets it. I mean, I had it at grassroots, for goodness sake, and that was coming from players and parents and the stigma around it is awful, and we all know subconsciously, no one really says it, but we all know that they'll get abused from minute one.
Do you think this is something I've thought about? Do you think they should? Remember, was it a couple of years ago, there was rumors that there was a gay footballer in the Premier League, and then people were automatically jumping to conclusions and saying, like, it was Ruben Loftus-Cheek and just naming random players without knowing. Yeah, like, do you think that there are gay footballers in the league? Do you think that they come out and say? I don't mean come out as in like don't tell people. I mean publicly say that I'm a gay footballer, or like John Doe is a gay footballer who plays for whatever club, because that's all people are going to see, and it's going to be a thing of essentially two things are going to happen. One, it's going to be something that's going to be used if he has a bad game. Oh, this gay whatever, and especially if they end up being Asian or they end up being Muslim, that's going to be something they're also going to be used. But on the other spectrum of it, they're just going to be used as this big media parade machine as John Doe, the first gay footballer, and he's going to be used as like the face of the anti-homophobia campaign, or the LGBTQ campaign for the Premier League and for UEFA to do.
What I think would be the best way is, I think the clubs know. The clubs will know. They would have had that conversation. They'll know. And the manager will know. Right? I'll use an example. Let's say it is in Manchester United. Let's say there's a gay man in Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to know. Like, he knows his players. They're going to probably have spoken to him about it. So what
do you know what it is? Like,
one minute. What I think the FA should do is they should not coordinate, but if there's multiple people, so let's say there's like 3 or 4 people that are gay in the Premier League, get them, not get them. That sounds a horrible way of doing it, but I mean, it's hard enough coming out as it is. But what I think would be the best way is have them come out together, not obviously like sat in a room next to each other and all of that, but sort of have them all one after the other come out, because then they can sort of rest on each other to sort of get that support from each other. I think that would be better than just having one person, because it's traumatic enough when you're not a professional celebrity or footballer or any of that. It's hard enough you doing it you sort of yourself. I think if there was a group of them, or 2 or 3 or 4 of them who do it together, I think they'll be able to gain sort of strength and support from each other, and then that would be easy, I think, for an individual, because it's such a difficult subject anyway. It takes a lot for someone to sort of come to terms with it. For me, it wasn't that difficult, but obviously I'm an anomaly. I basically just blurted out in school, and I was like, yeah, so sort of just deal with it, cool. And then just everyone just asks you a load of questions, basically. But for me, that's just the way that I think it should be done. I think it should be done in a controlled way where we're doing it sort of together so that they can gain strength off each other. But yes, also.
Yeah, I think the problem is, right, like Prime just said, there was feeders out there. Like, there's probably been news articles, and one of the more recent ones, I mean, me and you now have spoken about. Remember that Mason Greenwood situation where apparently he banged a tranny? Like, supposedly, even it was just all speculation. But did you see the sort of media sort of reaction to it was so negative? And I think the issue is that, and I think players are like, yeah, but every time something like this comes out, it's never received in a good way. And I totally agree. I think if you can get like a players' union kind of thing together, where they can maybe, rely on each other for support, because I know the Premier League would always look after, especially I don't want to say names, but it's hard to explain what I'm about to say without saying it. But say, for example, a top level like Premier League player, the Premier League are going to turn around and go, yeah, he's fucking gay, fuck him. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to be sat there and go, actually, we need to take care of him because he is our brand.
Yeah.
Like what Prime said, it's going to become that sort. And this is the problem. Everything's become PR. And I think that's what also players are afraid of, because they don't want to be PR. Or some players might not anyway. Some players might be like, I just want to play my football. I don't want to become like, oh, look at me, I'm gay, come and, parade me and, all of that, which I totally agree and I totally understand, because I don't want to be like paraded as this, like, oh, look at this Asian player come to the Premier League, Muslim and all of this. Like, I'd feel like, what the fuck? Can I not just play my football, get on with my life and go home? Like, why do I have to be paraded for something I am?
That's why I think having a group of them do it together, firstly, it takes all the pressure off one person. Secondly, they can all do it and all be that brand per se. I mean, horrible way of looking at it. But that brand, and don't even get me started on rainbow laces. I mean, they do a great job, but you see it so many times on social media. Oh, why are they wearing rainbow laces? And then the thing is, that's so gay comes out. It's like, that's really helpful, mate. That's going to really help the situation.
Yeah, because when you're in a stand and you hear it, like, players get called the F word, or like, not fuck you, but like the F word. Oh, what a fucking F word, yeah.
Yeah. It's disgusting. But yeah, RJ?
I think, especially when you look back at like previous examples of people coming out. I mean, like Philip Schofield. I mean, the company that he worked at, when they made the video, they put the comments off because they knew exactly what was going to happen.
Oh god, yeah.
They knew exactly. So every comment was turned off, and I think they tried to slowly move on and just pretend that, like, look, let's move away from it. This is what happened. We're just telling you that this is what happened. And it's not really talked about anymore. That Philip came out, But yeah, I do think it's kind of like, like you said, it's not easy, and it's definitely, whenever, like, say he's going to be playing on a pitch, he touches a ball, there's definitely going to be some people who are going to like give him some hard times with it if he does actually come out. Especially, and I do agree 100% that they should kind of bring the people that are similar together, who are trying to come out together, so that they can become a union. Because I think it's the exact same as the one for racism. Like, you can't do it alone. We all have to do it together if this shit's going to work. So yeah, it's all down to that. And yeah, and not only just like Premier League. I think just UEFA, FIFA, every organization for sport should really take it on. I think we've got a better chance of trying to get Premier League to do something than FIFA and UEFA at the moment. Yeah,
I'm not slamming FIFA. I'm not slamming FIFA and UEFA, but I will say that. But Prime, you wanted to say something before, I think.
Yeah, just maybe it would help if they came out together in bunches, but you can't. I think in the age we're living in with footballers, they're not as maybe the rivalry amongst clubs isn't as intense as it was 10 years ago. So even when you look at the England squad, you have players from Arsenal and Chelsea and United, everyone mixing together, and they all seem to be friends. So I'm assuming that they amongst themselves would know that it's gonna sound bad. There are people who are gay amongst them, and like they've come out and stuff, and they're fine.
Their teammates will know
with it, but they clearly would have discussed it amongst themselves as to them coming out. Like would there actually be any? And yes, there would be benefits from it. Like if you're a young kid who's gay growing up, whether you're male or female, and you're seeing ex-famous player who's a footballer who's come out and he's gay, and see how successful he is, and you're like, oh, I can do that.
Yeah.
That not even all the criticism or abuse he's getting, and he's still one of the most successful people in his field. Oh, I can do that. Yeah. And yes, but it's the other side of things, and if that was me in that position, I wouldn't want to come out publicly because being black and having to go through abuse is bad enough as it is, or being a Muslim playing in the Premier League having to go through it is bad enough as it is, and that's that's something you can visibly see.
Yeah.
I'm imagining it being a gay footballer now, and then all of a sudden names or whatever, because I don't know anything, we don't know anything, so it's just weird assumptions. But we all know Mason Mount and Declan Rice are best friends since they were kids, basically, and they were together in the Chelsea academy. What if one of them is gay? Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're both, boyfriends and whatever, and people start making abuse and chants towards them and like that. I don't know. I just for me, I understand why they wouldn't have come out, and
do
you know what it is?
Maybe
as
just the way
well?
I guess the worst of the scenario, but
Do you know what it is as well? That if you think about what Prime just touched on, it's bad enough Muslim, black people, Asian people, and whatever are visibly getting abused. I think what I'm gonna try and phrase this in the best way I can. You can't really see someone gay, if that kind of makes sense. So it's they're looking at, well, if this is how much stick they're getting for something they absolutely cannot change. I can't change my skin color. Some people have that belief.
But we do need to normalize it, and that's
100%. But I think what people maybe I'm probably not the best person. Obviously, I know Niall, you've come out in the past and stuff. But for me, I think they're looking at it in the sense of, well, if they're getting this much abuse for something they can't change, some people, I'm not saying that I believe this, but some people do believe that it's a choice. And I'm not saying it is, but some people believe, being gay is a choice, being this is a choice, being that is a choice. Well, and then they're going to and they're seeing that, and then they're going to be like, well, imagine the level of abuse we could be getting because of this.
We also have to flip it. How long is a football career? 20 years? Let's say you start 20, 25 years. That means you've got to hide yourself for 20, 25 years. That's even worse than some of the abuse you're going to get, because you can't be yourself. You can't hold your partner's hand outside if you haven't come out. You can't kiss them. You can't be affectionate. That's going to destroy your sort of mental health in itself. So you have to flip it that, the abuse is going to be horrific, but you can be yourself and you'll get that support. And that you have got Rainbow Laces and a lot of other charities out there that do exceptional, great work and all of that. You've got Stone, all of that. They do work, but I think we do need to sort of start to think that someone will do it soon. They will come out soon because they'll want to be themselves. They'll want to be affectionate with their partner. They'll want to hold their hands whilst going to the shop. They'll want to go to a movie and sort of share that thing. And I think we do need to get to a stage where we are going to have to, people are going to have to prepare for it, because if you are a bigot and you don't like it, then may I suggest you start preparing, because it will happen soon. Obviously in women's football there's plenty of openly lesbian players, because the stigma within women is completely different than it is men. Being gay is seen as a sort of weakness. So I do think we are going to get to a stage where that is going to happen. But the abuse is going to be horrific. It's going to be, the comments going to be like, oh yeah, you watch your teammates get changed. I mean, God forbid it be a manager. I mean, Jesus Christ, that man's going to get a lot of comments.
Yeah, that woman manager that, or she was about to take the job. That happened.
We'll get into obviously sexism in just a
tell
second.
You what it is, right? Though there was there was a black footballer. It was before the Premier League year started, and he came out as gay, and his brother tried to protect him. He was like, right, take this money, don't come out because we know what's going to happen. But he didn't. He refused the money. He came out, and he killed himself. And it's still a big story in the area that we speak in now. But I think that's one of the reasons why there isn't a lot of openly gay footballers. Yeah. Because, especially the team's point of view, if they know that, so let's say Greenwood let's just use Greenwood as an example. Greenwood comes out openly as gay. So his girlfriend that he's with now gets abused. He gets abused. or then he'll get pictured in every single bit of media, week in, week out, if he's with a boyfriend or anything. And the next minute, he's committed suicide because he's been abused. That's why I don't think there's that many. There's like no one that's going to be openly gay in football. But we see it more when players retire. There was an old Everton player retired 2 years later. He comes out.
Yeah.
Because none of the spotlight's on him anymore.
Do you think that that's something that the Premier League? I know obviously you can't stop people from taking pictures and writing stories, but do you think that's something where the Premier League can actually offer that more support? Because I don't think that when that lad, I know who you're on about, I can't remember his name, my memory blank, but I don't believe that the authorities would have offered the support, the counselling, whatever is needed, the protection. Do you not think that maybe with the way that society is and the way that it is changing, do you think that the Premier League can offer more to a player if they want to come out of the FA?
It's a sticky one because it's hard to say because you don't know what the Premier League or FA can offer to that player. Because I don't know, because it matters how the player feels at the end of the day. Like, if they want to hide until they retire, go through it. Hide for the rest of life, go for it. Nothing against it at the end of the day, but it's like what Troy Deeney did a little talk 2 years back or something, and it was like, if one player came out today, like let's say a player came out tomorrow morning on social media, it will create a domino effect, and more players will start coming out.
Yeah,
and
I think you are right. It is going to be that one player, and when it does happen, there's just going to be
exactly all it takes is one player to do it, and then the domino effect will start coming. And then if more players do end up coming out, you don't know, it could happen in the next 10 years. Someone comes out who's a really good footballer, they'll get hate, but then more people come out, and then fans and people outside of football and everyone who looks at it in this way will start to see that it's changing. So that could be one good positive about it, but we don't know what's going to happen.
I think it's about how the fans deal with it. I know that sounds ridiculously stupid, but I think it's going to take someone extremely mentally strong. The manager's going to have to be exceptional at their, well, not exceptional at their job, but exceptional at man management and dealing with the press, because that they're going to get hounded by it. And I know I like this manager a lot, but I do genuinely believe that Ollie would probably be the better one to deal with it, because he's younger. Secondly, he seems more sort of, his man management skills seem there.
He's more approachable to go to as a manager.
And he also he's also from the Fergie era, so he doesn't really like the media too much. Like, he doesn't like answering their questions, and I'm pretty sure that he's probably learned a few tricks from Fergie, going, I'm right, you're banned this Friday, you're banned this Saturday, like don't come back, like, sort of thing. I do think that Ollie's probably, and I know other managers will deal with it very well, but a lot of the other managers are a bit older, whereas the reason I pick Ollie is because he is younger. He does seem to be a bit more better at the man management skills. So I do think, sort of selfishly, I do like Ollie as well. I do think Ollie would be pretty good at dealing with it, but it's up to the person at the end of the day. Like, they know what will happen. Everyone is aware the hate you're gonna get, or the abuse you'll get. Everyone knows it. It's just going to be up to the player, and it's just got to be managed perfectly. Because if it's managed incorrectly or wrong, it could cause harm. Anyone want to add anything before we move on to the last one we'll talk about tonight?
No,
I think everything's been discussed. Obviously, even solutions have been given that they could potentially take into account.
Yeah, no, 100%. The last topic that we'll talk about is obviously sexism. That is every day. I mean, how many panelists have we seen on in the media get abused because they're a woman? You were about to say, obviously, so it was about Emma Hayes, the Chelsea's women manager. She was she was actually linked to take the AFC Wimbledon job. And straight away, the comments are like, what's she going to do when they're all getting dressed? Or what's she going to do when they're in the changing rooms having a shower? Believe it or not, the managers actually aren't in there when the players are having a shower, believe it or not. They're normally sat in their office drinking red wine. I mean, how many times do we hear Fergie brought up Jose Mourinho to his office and they whacked open about a 10-gram bottle of red wine and just drank that? Well, that'll be I presume that'll be the time that the boys are having a shower and getting dressed. I mean, the last thing I think Fergie wants to be doing is watching 25 men actually have a shower. I don't think that's what these managers do. So believe it or not, Emma Hayes is probably going to do something similar, which is she'll walk in. So after a game, I've obviously managed the grassroots. It's not the same, but after a game, they all sit in the changing room. If you win, the manager's praising you. If you lose, you're probably going to get a bollocking if you play crap. Then they walk out and they do what they want to do. For me, it was go have a fag and just relax after a game. For these managers, it's going to be go to their office, crack open a bottle of wine with the other manager and have a chat. Like that's in theory what's going to happen. But then you also see it within the social media. I mean, I fail to count how many times I've seen Kendall on Midnight Vibes, and you just see sexism comments or sexist comments or on her Twitter, and it's like, really? Because she speaks sense about her club. She knows football. There's nothing that she says that I actually disagree. Well, obviously we can disagree, but there's nothing that I think, well, you don't actually know what you're talking about. She knows her club. She's been on Sky Sports many times, obviously with Anita as well. They're two of the bigger social media influencers that are women. Obviously, you've got obviously others like Sparks TV and all of that. But I think that we need to work on a way of sort of getting people to realise that women are just as good as men, if not better, at football. And I would love to see a woman manager, only if they're good enough, get a male job, like in a male team.
Like for what Chelsea, with Emma Hayes and stuff, when possible candidates and stuff for who could come to Chelsea and manage. I remember I brought up, I think on the terrace, maybe for a Chelsea show, maybe I said it on Twitter or something. I said, why not Emma Hayes? She's been doing brilliantly actually for the women's team for roughly a decade now. She's one of the best out there in the women's game. And why not give her the chance? And maybe some can say, maybe her making the immediate step up to a top Premier League job is too quickly, which, to be fair, yes. But if Lampard can be given the job from Derby to immediately manage Chelsea and be given 250 mil to spend, why can't she just take the job, even if it's for interim to the end of the season? Like I personally didn't see a part. Like if she had been, and she wasn't linked with the job at all, but like I thought it was just a name I kind of just threw in there. Like why not? And if she had got the job, I actually wouldn't have minded because she does brilliantly for the women's team. We play an attractive brand of football. She knows what she's doing, and it would be interesting for her to test herself against in the men's game against the big teams, the big clubs in the men's game, and see how she can handle it. And you know what? Maybe she's who knows? Maybe she'll be one of the best. Maybe she's not even that good in the men's game. Who actually knows? But it's a thing of give people the opportunity, and I can't think of a better manager in the women's game than her right now to be given that shot.
If there's any club that will do it, I feel like it will be Chelsea because firstly, Roman Abramovich is one of the best owners when it comes to wanting to be diverse, wanting to make a change. So I think Roman will definitely do it. And I also think that he'll be like, yeah, why not? She's done a great job with my women's team. Like I think, aren't Chelsea women on course still to win the treble in women's football? Like, they're performing great. They play amazing football.
They won it last season as well, based on points to game.
I remember the best women's team used to be Arsenal, didn't it? And then obviously Chelsea came in and started blowing everyone away. And Emma Hayes is obviously a big part of that. And it would be interesting.
And
I
it's
do
a
think
thing of
Chelsea would be good.
if we're like Lampard got the job last season, and I would have given it to her. It was a thing of Lampard got a 3-year contract, and it's about trusting him and this process with no experience.
Yeah.
She may not have managed in the men's game, but at least she's managed women's football, and she understands the game to a very high level. So give the chance to her and see what she can do. My only drawback with it is the fact of if she doesn't start off well, or she goes through rough patches with the team, whether it's to do with her tactically or just the players not following and comprehending the instructions or whatever it may be, the whole thing of, oh, she's a woman, see, I told you she couldn't, she can't do it, or whatever, or it's from the other side of things, it'll be, how there's player power in the game. So, for example, some players not playing for Lampard or not playing for Arteta or whatever, because she's a woman, from the other side, people will be like, they're not listening to her or they're going against her because she's a woman. Whereas opposed to the reality will be, well, no, this is just what players do. They just go against managers if for whatever reason may be. And and the thing is, I wouldn't, and the thing is, I would actually like it. I'd back it if she took the job at Chelsea, or if she went to an Everton or something to prove herself. I don't really think she needs to prove much, but if she went to an Everton to try and prove herself or something, I think her being linked to playing in the Championship or something, I think that's a massive disrespect to her.
Yeah, no, AFC Wimbledon, and when I saw it, I was like, that's a bit disrespectful. They're in League One. They could be getting relegated to League Two.
Yeah.
That is this. She's not going to be that bad at her job. Like she has every right to walk into probably at least 15 Premier League sides with her experience. And we also have to remember that a manager's job isn't very, because obviously there's obviously reasons why men and women can't play together, but there's no reason why a manager couldn't do it. I mean, there's nothing physically demanding, and actually, isn't it statistically proven that women are sort of, they think better than sort of a man? I could be completely misjudging this, but I swear there was like a study that women cope with like the pressures and all of that.
Yeah. In terms of being able to multitask better, they do. Yes.
Yeah. So she could turn out and just be wiping Pep under the floor because she can handle multiple things at once, and that actually could be a trick. And other teams go, oh, I like that idea. Like we could see that, but again, it's a bit like a gay footballer coming out. Once one person does it, like in terms of hire a woman, we should see more. Hopefully, sort of join. But RJ, what's your thoughts on? Hopefully, sort of one day a woman sort of taking a manager's job within the men's game.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I think it will obviously introduce change to the modern game. Obviously, I do think you should not be limited to what you're allowed to have. I think if you want a woman to be your manager, I think you're 100% allowed to. Especially, if you want them, why don't? There shouldn't be a rule saying you're not allowed. Look at Phil Neville. He did pretty much the opposite. He went to the England's women's team, and he got a lot of hate for doing it. But fair play for him for doing his run. Now he's the manager of Inter Miami. So, I think I'm all for it. I think no one should be ever disrespected to the fact that you're a woman. You should not be managing a man's team. There should not be none of that. So. I think 100% they should introduce this, and I'd be very curious to see who's going to be the first one to actually do it.
Yeah, I do think it'll be Emma Hayes. It'll just be at what club? Like she is by far the best woman manager there is, but by about 300 country miles. Like you could probably put a distance between America and Australia, and that's probably the distance of level of how good this woman is. Like. I admire her a lot. I think she's brilliant.
My only thing is she comes in and she succeeds. Like if she's gonna do it and she succeeds, I just want it to be with Chelsea, not another club, because that's just the Chelsea thing. But it's a thing of she comes in, she succeeds, and then it's a thing of let's bring in more female managers into the game. I don't want it to be like, you know how
You want to be like the Ollie situation, do you?
not even that. You know how managers like Steve Bruce, Alan Pardew, like
No.
these sort of managers are always getting jobs, but it's clear that they're very bad at what they do.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a situation where they're just bringing in female managers, but they're not the best of the female game to come in. And then to
That's
think
what I
like they
mean.
perform
They
bad,
have to.
Yeah.
and
They
then
have to
all
be
of a
right
sudden
for the
it's
job.
like, yeah, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I told you women managers can do it. It's only because Emma Hayes is an anomaly.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah, not bringing them for the sake of it, for the numbers.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. But Sulz, what's your thoughts? I mean, not that we want Arteta out at all. But like one day a woman walking out of the Emirates doing their trade,
100%, my
winning
guy.
titles.
Mate, like I'm gonna review. I've been watching women's football, for about the past season and a half. So I'm not the most like knowledgeable about it, but fuck me, is it brilliant? I am having more fun watching women's football than I'm watching the men's. It's actually it's actually exciting, and I swear to you, like, and I've said this on my Twitter as well. If you haven't watched it, go watch it because it is fucking tastic. Like it's exciting. The football's good. The tactical outlays that these like women managers or men managers, depending on who, is brilliant as well. Like I don't understand, right? Like for me, right, when I look at a manager, what do I look for? What their tactics and style of players, what their philosophies are, what are their like sort of what Arteta's brought in like non-negotiables, what are they going to stand for, what are they not going to stand for, what are their plans for the club, like what are they looking to do? That's the sort of things I look for. If, for example, Emma Hayes, right, is that woman that's going to bring, or that person, should I say, sorry, that's going to bring all of that I want to see, then why the fuck not? I don't give a shit if it's a man or a woman. And about this whole changing room, I mean, I think every single one of my coaches that I've ever had would have been arrested for fucking paedophilia if they were in my dressing room whilst I'm getting changed. Yeah. They're not in there. Well, firstly, they don't get changed because whatever they're wearing is pretty much what they freaking wear anyway. They don't need to change into their kits to become and then come out of the manager and then go back and change into something else.
What I mean is like, when the players are getting changed. That's
no. That's what I'm saying. Like, why are they gonna be there? Like, what?
They're not.
They
don't
don't
drinking
need to
wine in the office.
Exactly.
Like
that's what I'm saying now.
Any male manager.
No, that's what I'm saying now. Like, I don't understand what they're gonna be doing. Yeah, once they've kind of given you team talks and whatever, they're out of there. Really, they don't really stick around. I don't think they want to see you get changed. I don't want to see another person get changed, let alone a fucking manager.
It's like Fergie. There's no way Fergie's sort of in that changing room going, "It's all right,
ooh, boys, yes, lads, get changed now.
Have your shower. Like, I'm just gonna chill here." Like, of course not.
Oh, give us a look,
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but like, it's just such a stupid argument. Like, why a woman shouldn't get a job? I mean, whether it's in the Championship or League One, I do want to see, because I'm telling you, some of them, like. This is the problem I've always had with football fans in general. They don't, like, even with transfers, they jump on it like, oh my god, like Odegaard. Exactly. Half of you man haven't even watched him. That's the same with the women's game. Half of these men who are crying about Emma Hayes or whoever else it may be, they don't even fucking watch the game. Like, if you like, I've been watching it, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually quite impressed with like the way they set their teams up. And that's because I'm now looking into it like a fan. You know, both on the derby this weekend, brilliant tactical outlays. You know, from the Arsenal managers and stuff, and the players as well. It's like, until you don't look at it, don't have a judgment until you've seen what they actually have to offer. And that's my problem. Too many people jump on this sort of ship of, nah, it's a woman, or nah, it's like the Championship, for example. Players in the Championship get looked down upon because they're playing the Championship. It's kind of like that. People are just throwing it away because it's not the norm.
Yeah,
it's like, and I think people just need an exposure to it. Like for me, my exposure to the women's football was Euro 2012. So when England hosted it, was not Euro 2012. Sorry, the Olympics. Watching the men's team play and the women's team play for England, or I guess it was called
UK, GB,
Team GB. Watching them play, and then I just started watching more of the England's women, and then more of Chelsea ever so slowly and stuff. And I watch more of Chelsea now, I guess, a women's team more in the last like year or so. I don't watch other teams because I'm barely even. I'm only invested in Chelsea. I'm not invested in other teams. I'll just be honest. So that's why I'm like saying in terms of other female managers, I don't really know much about them. But like the women's game is actually quite entertaining to watch, and especially for people who they're always complaining about Premier Leagues being nil-nils and like not entertaining. If you actually like fast-flowing and fast-paced football, which to be fair is not necessarily my preference, because I prefer more of a tactical battle, and I even find it entertaining to watch. So it's just like actually sit down and watch these games, like, and I don't know. I just think I don't know. Maybe it's just in superiority complex or something, or maybe it's just a thing of ignorance. So because they don't watch, they're obviously going to dismiss and turn their nose at it, But it's just give it a go.
Even I've not massively watched it. Like I'll be honest. Like I obviously on this channel we do like all the top 4 or 5 teams. So I'm already watching like possibly 5 men's game, and then I'm also trying to watch the Argyle game. So I do find it very difficult. So when the women are playing at like 2:00 on a Tuesday, I'm like, I'll watch that. Like that will give me something to do. I'll watch that, see what it's like. I watched Chelsea women versus Wolfsburg. I thought it was brilliant. But no, even if you haven't watched it, that's no excuse to be ignorant. But I know that's a society we live in. But Dom, I want to get your thoughts on before we just wrap up the whole thing. What's your thoughts on the woman walking out Old Trafford and winning you a treble? Dom, are you there?
Dominique, are you there?
I guess not.
There's something's up.
He's just muted himself. So you there, Dom?
I don't know if it's working or not for him.
Oh, Dom has left the building.
No, but what I will say, just for me, I started watching women's football. I think it was the last World Cup in 2019, and I'll be honest. So I was never really, I wouldn't say informed, but I've just never really watched it. So yeah, I think, but watching it, especially like I think I watched like from the quarterfinals to the final. I think just watching it, I found it quite entertaining. To be fair, the fact that it was different, it was unique, it was it's kind of something new that compared to watching men's all the time. So, yeah, definitely. I do think people should give it a watch and give some consideration for what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, Dom, what's your thoughts on a woman walking out Old Trafford being the manager?
I wouldn't mind it, me personally. Casey Stone's our women's manager at United, and she's a fucking great manager. She takes no shit. She doesn't give a shit about what people say about her. When she signed for United's women's team, she was like one of them openly gay lesbians in women's football, and people were slandering her. I was like, hold on, it's her choice at the end of the day. And even if she does, she could be bringing trophies to a United's women's team. One of the team that we've had for 3 years, and it shows what she does is great job. Then she wants the manager of the month the other month, and then people are praising her. I was like, oh, there you go. She showed that she can prove herself. But yeah, women's football is growing, and it's good to see. And to see more women managers come into the game, it wouldn't surprise me, because they are very good managers at the end of the day.
Yeah, obviously we have the woman linesman. I can't remember her name.
Sean Massey.
That's the one, Sean Massey. She's exceptional at her job. Being a former referee, I want her in the middle of that pitch. I'm not joking. She is a qualified referee. Give her the whistle. Like, Mike Dean, hand over the whistle and please take the flag. Like, I want, and selfishly, she's better. Like every decision, she's very rarely overturned. Well, obviously now we got VAR, but she was very rarely got a decision wrong. She doesn't stand for no crap. We have a women's official in the Vanarama conference. She's very good. She takes no shit. Like I watched. I think it was Stockport versus Yeovil, and she was refereeing the game, and she did a very good job. She got. I normally with referees I criticize them all the time. They're crap at their jobs. But I actually watched. I was like, I can't actually criticize her. She hasn't got a decision wrong. That sort of shows the levels of these women, that they can do the job in the men's game. They just need to be given that opportunity, and hopefully that we can sort of grow that opportunity.
And even if she does get decisions wrong, then okay, that just shows that they're just as good as the incompetent refs anyway. So there's not much of a difference, is there? It's whether or not the ref.
But that's the thing though. Like, how many times have we looked at her decisions and said, "Oh, she's ruined the game"? Very little. Very little.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, these women can do the jobs, and they're very good at them. Especially the referees. Like, they're very good. Last couple of comments before we do wrap up. Mojo was saying that Don was looking for Stephen Kenny. They still haven't gotten over the fact.
No, me and Anthony are still looking for him. Don't worry, we will get him eventually.
Yeah. Mike Dean, is that still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. He's still refereeing. Geriatric. Yeah, I can pronounce the name, and I've butchered
Mal did not want to attempt that at all.
That's the It's been a long day. It's been a long weekend, and I've butchered enough words and names and all of that I wasn't gonna try it anymore. I've given up today. It's been one of them weekends from absolute living hell on a sporting level. Obviously, Lewis winning, and then England making me very, very happy. Even though we beat Albania, it does make me sad. But we are going to wrap it up there. We've been going for 2 hours, and even though there were much more other topics we can talk about, I feel like we've spoken about the sort of the three that I think needs. Don't want to be rude to the other ones, but they're the.
Some of the main issues.
It's a good start.
They're the start, and the other ones we can approach at another time. I just want to say, everyone that's watching, obviously, if you've been in and jumped out, that's cool. It's been a long one, but I appreciate everyone that has paid their time to watch this. Obviously, the people watching on the replay, I hope you find this sort of informative. If there's any sort of questions you've got, put it in the comments. I do read them, and I can talk to the lads and see what we can come up with if there are any questions. Big up, Charlie. This was brilliant. It's made the uncomfortable topic of sort of racism and discrimination just comfortable to sort of talk about and to sort of engage in, and that's important. And obviously, hopefully that's a start, but it's nowhere near the end, because if we think that just 1-2 hour stream is going to solve all the problems in the world, then we're in for quite some shock. So I know no one on the panel thinks that, and hopefully no one in the comments thinks that it's just one stream done and that's the whole world sorted, because I'm afraid to tell you that simply just won't be the case. But before we go, obviously do check out our social medias on Twitter at Let's Talk EPL, on Instagram at Let's Talk EPL _. We're on TikTok at Discord. They're all in the description. But RJ, mate, where can they find you, mate?
Yeah, they can find me at Robotic Jaguar on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. And also, I'll be here tomorrow morning discussing Roy Keane as Celtic manager. So make sure because it's going to happen, boys. Make sure you watch it.
Absolutely, get your news source from RJ. He'll wake you up in a lovely Irish voice and make a smile on your day. I'll be tuning in from my sofa on my TV, chucking the comments in. But I feel like I have to wake up early now. We'll discuss what time it is.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Don't worry.
Yeah. Make sure it's not like 8 a.m. I'll still be asleep. Prime, mate, where can they find you?
Yeah, so everyone knows me. I'm on the Football Terrace. You can catch me there. I am tomorrow. Well, it's actually Monday now. So tonight, 9 p.m. Catch me on the wrap up. I will be wrap up with bits and bobs with Beaks, Big Gunner, Vinci. I'm assuming I didn't leave anyone else out because that would be extremely rude. You can catch me on a Friday on Charlotte Strong's YouTube channel. Everything but football. We actually did one on Friday. Just talking about the Zack Snyder's Justice League cut, which was actually quite good. So just check out that show. That's entertaining. And follow me on Twitter right here for my thoughts and opinions about football and stuff, and keep up to date with me because something important is coming out in terms of me personally, and also in terms of like the terrace and stuff like that. So keep up to date with me and the terrace and everything.
Yeah, big up to Prime, obviously, for coming on. I think it's your debut on this channel, I think. So
yes, it is.
It is. Obviously, we've had Prime on the football addiction, but obviously since the whole rebrand, it's just been absolutely chaotic and all of that. But I do need to get Prime on the Chelsea show at some point. That would be brilliant. But you can find Prime literally anywhere on Twitter. Like he basically is on almost every channel. I sometimes I don't even know how he does it. I swear he wakes up at like 9 a.m. and he's just like on every channel. It's absolutely brilliant. You do find him almost everywhere. Great work ethic from Prime, obviously.
The grind is real.
But it is. But Dom, where can they find you, mate?
They can find me at United_Dom1, and that's the only place you can find me.
You can find me on this channel. Jesus, you're always here. Come on.
Yeah, you can find Dom here, obviously on the United show and various other things. He's a referee as well, so there's going to be a sort of a refs thing coming out on Thursdays. But Sulz, where can they find you, mate?
The real question is where they can't find me.
He's
like,
everywhere at the moment.
Yeah, just like Prime, like I'm just everywhere. Like I think I've overcommitted again. I've probably said yes to too many things again. Like normal. I don't even know anymore. But yeah, no. The main places you can find me are Gunnar Sulz or at Let's Debate Footy. You can find me on Let's Talk Premier League. You can I don't even know. I don't know where you can find me. Like. Like Prime, just follow me on Twitter and you'll find out. I guess there's a lot in the pipeline, obviously, even with this channel, my own channel. Again, man, the fight will never stop. The voice of the voiceless. People who, and also what I do want to say from myself. I don't know about anyone else, but my DMs are now open. So I didn't realize Twitter closes them. And if anyone has any issues or if anyone's going through anything, just pop me a message. I will get down to it. I will get around to it. Even for anyone on the panel, if anything does come up, you can definitely count on me being one of the first people to back you, the first people to talk about it. Like even today, like I tweeted something and I never really wanted the responses, but the amount of people who emailed just to check up on everything was phenomenal. Don't think that the platform is all negative because trust me, I never ever in a million years thought I'd meet the people I met, and it's a wonderful place with a bit of negativity. But people like myself are there for you, man. Like just DM me and I'm there.
Yeah, and you can check out any of our socials. I'm sure we can all give you that time. Even check out the channel socials. I think there's like a couple of people that have got the logins to that. But yeah, you can basically you can find Sulz here. He's basically permanent furniture at the moment. I mean, the man is on every stream, and we do massively appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow with an international weekly review show, something slightly different, talking about all the home nations games. We won't be discussing under 21s football. Sorry if I get any comments about that. I simply just won't look at it. We're not discussing
Lord have
it.
mercy on us.
If you want to discuss under 21s football, just go look at our last stream. We did a watch along, and you can see a few English people crying because our manager is not great. By the way, Emma Hayes for England under 21s. I'm keen to see that. So I want to see.
No. I want her in the main team. I need the
actually.
Main
That's a
team
good
first.
shout. I was thinking under 21s to nurture the talent, but no, we need a good manager in there now. So if the FA are watching, or if you've come across this stream, you're probably not going to like half of what we've said, but in terms of all of that. But Emma Hayes for England manager would be a great idea. I'm just chucking it out there, better than Southgate. But we have come to the end. As I said, we'll be back tomorrow. Obviously, RJ's got his weekly or his daily news show tomorrow, so make sure you tune into that. I know I will be. I don't know if I'll be out of bed to tune in, but I'll definitely be tuning in. But a big up to everyone that's come on, a big up to everyone that's been watching. Make sure you leave a like on the video, share the stream on all your socials. Let's get as many people who can see in this as possible to help start the sort, not start, but help continue the sort of fight that we've got on. But a big thanks to everyone, and I'll catch you tomorrow.